and welcome to Positive Conversations with David and Donna. I'm Donna.
I'm David.
And I just asked David, think of some things that you worry about. And he said, what do I worry about? So I said, okay, I got this. So I can actually start with my dad. Worry personified. That's how I have stress personified. It's just, I grew up in a house where every possible bad outcome was always discussed and mourned over as if it had already occurred, even though it hadn't. And I don't know, I had that mindset, I guess, for a long time, but as my dad got older, he died when he was 75, but he would sometimes tell me stories when I came home on the weekends about just reading a story in the paper or just thinking about how horrible something would be if it happened, to the point that he would just almost be in tears telling me about these things that he worried about. And I just thought, my God, what a waste of your time, you know? And I mean, it was just so hard to see him go through that. But I mean, I've certainly done my share of worrying. And I have so much to say about that topic. That is a topic that is very near and dear to my heart, because I was able to overcome it to the point where I can pretty much say I don't worry about anything anymore, which is a weird thing for people to hear. But I've chosen that. So having said what I did, I'm going to ask David if he has thought of anything he worries about, or maybe that you used to worry about.
Well, this has led me to something interesting that I want to get back to in a second. I'll tell you what I worry about, or what I used to worry about, but this reminded me, the coronavirus is a big deal. And
you talked to me about that.
Right.
They're freaking out.
People are freaking out. And I just, you know what, man? If the world dies...
I hear you.
Okay.
That's what it's supposed to happen.
I guess it's what's, you know, but it's like, that's not going to happen, though. Like, and I watched, and the thing is, here's what I did. I just simply, before worrying, educated myself on it, watched some real doctors, some real scientists talk about it, read a lot of stuff, and realized, okay, it's fine. It's going to be fine. And if it's not fine, well, there are solutions to make it fine again. And it's fine. So there's no reason to worry. And there's a small chance it won't be fine, but it's such a small chance that it won't be fine that why am I going to worry about it? If the world's going to end tomorrow, well, I don't want to spend today worrying about it.
I hear that. Absolutely.
And I understand it's not really easy for everybody, and I'm not always that way. I mean, I worry plenty. I stress a lot about money, and I know you have a lot to say about that. I stress a lot about money. I stress a lot about making sure the people around me are happy. That's a big deal. That's something that I thought about. I put a lot of my own energy and time into making sure that everybody around me is fine and safe and good and dandy, to the detriment of me often. Whether that be I spend too much money on other people, or I just spend too much time focusing on them. I worry a lot about what other people are up to, or what they're doing, or what they might think of me. Ooh, I keep bumping the table. Sorry. Oh, thank you. What they might think of me. I worry about what's going to happen if somebody says something's bad about me.
Pause. All right, let's do one at a time.
Etc. Yeah,
we'll go back. Okay, so money. That could be its whole podcast in itself, but we'll touch on some of the basics of how I think. I'm going to give you an example. I actually was thinking about this before I came back into the room. So I got a check that was a refund check from our doctor's clinic, and I had it over here by my computer, and I was straightening up and figuring out what needed to go in the garbage can. And the next day I went to deposit my check because I used my phone to do that, and I couldn't find it. It's a $50 check. And I realized I had to have thrown it away. I just can't find it. And I'm like, well, that's not what I meant to do. That's $50. So I didn't worry about it. I mean, I guess I could probably call my clinic and explain, and my husband still might do that. But I was just like, wow, it's $50. So then another thing happened where I was paying off my son's surgery for his wisdom teeth. And I had a 6-month loan that if you paid in 6 months, you didn't have to pay interest. And I'm the one that pays the bills in my house, and I have this huge notebook with a chart and who's going to pay the bill and what day I need to pay bills and blah, 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 whatever. And I had written down exactly when I needed to make sure I pay the last payment by, and somehow that slipped past me. And then I paid an $80 interest fee, which I would not have had to pay if I had, I had the money. It's not that I didn't, I just, somehow it slipped past me that I needed to get the money in by that date. But I just have such a strong belief in everything's going to be okay. And I had in my mind the other day, That's $130. Wow, that's $130. And I thought, what am I going to do? And the next day, I got a check in the mail for $136. That was a refund from our mortgage when we refinanced. Well, they had already told us they were paying us $500 as part of our settlement when how we refinanced. But just out of the blue, for no reason at all, I got a $136 check. And when I opened it and I looked at the amount, it was just like, wow. It was like I willed it into existence. Yeah. And that's not to say that I might still not be able to get that $50 back from my doctor's office. But if I don't now, it's covered in a way that I don't really know how to explain that in a way that makes sense to other people. But that's how I live.
And that's not to say that, hey, everyone, just throw away some money. Correct. And you'll have some show up. That's not what it's trying to say. But the point is that give things time and relax, and things will probably work out. As long as, and a key to that is to not stress about it, because when you stress about it, that's when your money mistakes are going to come into play, I think. I agree. Personally.
Well, you're sending such negative images to the universe, and that's just how I view everything. I see it all as vibrations, and how everything's a reflection back of what you're thinking. And so what I would like to ask you, and again, this could be a whole podcast, so we might come back to the topic another day, but what specifically do you worry about with money?
I have to pay back some student loans.
Right. Have you has that started yet?
Not
grace
yet.
Period? Okay.
Not yet.
So have you gone in and paid your interest yet?
No.
You need to do that. So anybody who doesn't know that about student loans, and I've told you that, your student loans accrue interest before you start paying them back. And if you don't pay your interest before you start actually paying the loan back after your grace period is up or whatever, then that interest accrues interest. It becomes part of the principal that they double draw the interest on it. So my son is in the same situation. We borrowed money for him for his first semester of college, and then he decided college was not for him. And so soon his grace period will be over. But I logged into his account. I think he'd accrued like $63 worth of interest. So I just went ahead and put $100 on the loan. Boom. So when it does get to the point where we have to start paying it back, I won't have interest accruing on interest. And
I see.
You see what I'm saying? So just pay whatever the interest is now, or even call the people and say, hey, I want to pay my interest before that's just a little tip. But do you feel like you're not going to have the money to pay it? Is that what your problem is?
It's more like whenever I start having to pay it, I'm going to just have to make a couple changes. You know, I have, realistically speaking, the money does exist in my bank account to pay it. It's just, I'll have to eat a couple less cheeseburgers.
Correct.
And that's okay. That's fine. And that opens up possibilities of, well, what can I eat instead? Ooh, look at that. Fancy ramen soup recipe. And
a lot of people do that.
A lot of people do that. And I also need to not stress because, I have people that will support me and help me.
Yeah, you're not out in the big road as my grandmother used to say.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And so that's a particular thing. I also just stress generally, I need to make sure I put enough gas money aside, and oh man, I'm not saving up. I'm not putting money into savings as much as I should be. Oh man, and part of that comes from, maybe I'm over at a friend's house and they want chips and salsa, and I'm like, oh, I'll order it and I'll get it, and the reason I've come to do that sort of thing, and this is something I've had to really deal with myself, and that I'd like, because I'm the kind of person who wants to be able to, and we've talked about this plenty, who wants to be able to do that for everybody in your life all the time, but realistically I can't, but I still do when I really shouldn't. But one day I will be able to just say, oh, I got it, it's fine. But right now I need to understand that maybe it's okay to let your friend, so that's what I've been doing recently. This was a big problem months ago, but now it's like, oh, hey, I'm ordering some queso, can you give me $5 for so we can split the cost, that sort of thing.
I got you. Well, let me talk about student loans also. Just in the little brief interaction I had with the student loan page I was looking at, there are so many options for paying back your loan. So it's not like, okay, your loan comes due, pay it in 6 months or we're going to take your car. You know what I'm saying? That there are so many different ways that you can do that. And I mean, student loans are just big, huge topic. People hate them and blah, 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 whatever. But I mean, you didn't accrue that much debt for the 3 semesters you were in school. So you just need to maybe that I think it would make you feel better to just go to. Do you know how to log into your website with? Okay,
yes.
Just really look at all the information there. Look at all the payback options, and even call somebody and say, "Hey, I'm looking at all these payback options. I'm not really sure I understand and just go ahead and get in your brain. This is what I can do. Like I can do this, and if I need to take a break, or if I need to pay a little bit here and a little more there, or whatever, and just and see it as a doable option, because a lot of people fear the unknown, just simply because they don't really know what they're going to be up against. And this is something you could just straight up go get the information.
And that's the thing I've learned too. And this is not just with money. This applies to everything. People are worried about confronting things and seeing things right in front of them. For example, earlier in January, just back in January, I was receiving emails like, okay, so I'm coming, you're going to have to pay your student loans and stuff like, oh, okay, hey, there's a new thing in your account. Oh, I left school, so I have to go on LeoNet for Southeastern and like, and look at it there and be like, okay, so what do I have to pay right now? And blah, blah, blah. And I just pushed it off for days. I was just so afraid just to go look and deal with it and confront it. Till finally I did, and then I looked at it for a bit and realized, oh, it's fine. Oh, I'm good. It's covered right now. My student loans covered, because the way that it kind of works, at least with Southeastern, I guess in Louisiana, was like when I took out loans for last fall semester, I took out loans for both fall and spring. It's like a year. Like you do it for a year. Is that what you had to do for?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you do it for the whole year. So even though I left, I already took out that money. So that money goes towards covering the leftover expenses from the previous semester, which I already knew it was going to do that, right? Because for some reason my first semester cost more than my second semester, and so it was a bit of a weird unbalance, and so I was like, oh man, but I dropped out, so am I still going to get that student loan covering those leftover from the first? Yes, because I already took it out. I already signed on the dotted line that I'm taking out this money, so it was already taken out and covered it, and now just whenever my grace period is up, I start paying back the student loans. Not paying back Southeastern directly, which is a lot more complicated and a lot more stressful. So I'm like, okay, oh, it's fine. I'm not like, okay. And just confront the problem. That applies to everything that you're worried about in life. If you're worried about what's someone going to say to you, just tell them, hey, I'm worried about with your boss, it's like, and you talk to my boss about something, what are they going to say? And you push it off, and it makes it worse. It makes it worse and worse and worse. And you're going to go living life miserably until you just do it. You just got to.
And a lot of people do that.
Do it.
They put themselves in that position. They just, and I think some people like the drama of it. It gives them that little push inside, that little spark or whatever.
Yeah, I
get
that.
The drama.
The drama, and I get that totally. Where like, I would cause, like sometimes it's kind of maybe a little like interesting. It's definitely interesting whenever there's drama happening.
Right, but it's usually interesting in a miserable way.
In a very miserable way, and you just want to, So I've learned just whenever you're worried about something, just confront it. Just anything that it is, worry about talking to a person, anything like that. What do you worry about? Well, you don't worry about anything.
I don't anymore.
What do people worry about?
Well, I was going to actually come back to your list, so we'll talk about that. Yeah. Your list was then making sure people around you are happy.
Right. So I worry a lot about, my friends, my girlfriend, my parents, and stuff like that. I'm making sure that sometimes I stress myself out to like make sure that they're fine. Like I don't ask for enough help, or
can you give me an example?
Okay, yeah. So like maybe my mom is, maybe me and my mom are the only ones home, and my dog is being crazy, and I'm watching him, and my mom is just sitting in the living room. I could just put him in the living room and then get a little break, but instead I'm like, no, I don't want to bother her or something like that, or maybe it's like, oh man, I could really use some extra help this week from my mom for money or whatever. Oh, because I know that she will, and that she would be able to, or she'd be like, oh yeah, I could put gas in your car, but I'm like, I don't want to bother her or make it, so I don't.
Do you know why? I mean, do you feel like you would be obligated? Do you feel, I mean...
I feel like it would, I just feel like I'd be, I don't ever, a lot of my anxiety has come from not wanting to bother people or put anybody in any sort of situation at all. You know, does that make sense what I'm saying?
I do understand what you're saying. I don't understand why you're saying it. Do you understand why you're saying it? Like, why? Why do you feel like that? Have you ever bothered somebody and had a really horrible consequence, or have people bothered you to the point that you want to make sure you never bother anybody else, or?
I just think that I just don't, probably people have bothered me, and I don't want to, I make sure I never do it to anybody else. Okay, let me give you another example. Like, I used to, like, listen to podcasts in my car, but then one day I discovered, because like I got out of my car for whatever while the podcast was still going, that when my door is closed, just the way that my stereo works and the way that talking with the podcast works, you could hear the podcast really annoyingly, even if you're outside the car. So now I never listen to my podcast through my speakers. I always just listen to it through the phone speakers in my car. Why? I mean, it doesn't matter, but this is something I do because I'm like, I don't want to pull up to a gas station and bother people. And it doesn't bother, because people, it's really weird. I see the look on your face. It's like, and this is all just anxiety, weird talk. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to like making sure the people around me are happy, I worry about like making sure my friends. Okay, work's a good example. I don't like asking people to cover shifts, or whenever someone asks me to cover a shift, I try to do everything I can to cover a shift. And at some point, that's good. You're a good guy for doing that. But sometimes I really shouldn't cover this shift, and it's not my responsibility to cover this shift at work. But I want to be the good guy and cover the shift at work, and then and then it ends up screwing up everything because I covered the shift at work.
Because you feel like you aren't important enough to say no.
I get that maybe I'm not important enough, or maybe it's I just don't like being the bad guy, maybe, or I don't. It's not. I know that I'm important at work. It's just I don't like saying. Okay, it's just so many weird little things. Like one time, I'm known at work as like you can call me before calling the boss, so maybe I can help you with the problem. And there are many times where people call me, and I don't know how to solve the problem, and I should just say, "Oh, just call Glenn." But I want to be so badly the guy who, maybe that's what it is. I just really want to be there. But I want to like, also I understand the anxiety of talking to your boss. So I don't want them to have to call the boss because there's just some anxiety around that. And so I want to try to solve the problem for them, or I want to be the guy who does solve the problem to keep that like status that I have of like being the guy who solves the problem. And so I would tell them things that do not solve the problem, that cause more problems actually, just in an attempt, when I should just say from the start.
Okay, that has actually happened before?
Yeah, that has actually happened before. But now I've learned recently not to worry about that, not to worry about, oh, David couldn't solve the problem, or not to worry about, oh, they got to call the boss. Like it's like, oh, just call Glenn. Mm-hmm. I stopped worrying about it.
Because you did the thing where you made the problem worse.
Yes.
And so you learned from that. Okay. So you said earlier in your list of things about like always putting yourself last. So, I mean, you know the whole thing about if the plane is going to crash, you get the oxygen mask to yourself first. Because if you don't do that, you can't help anybody else. Mm-hmm. So do you worry that if you do something for yourself, it would be seen as selfish, or?
I think I do worry about being seen as selfish, and I think this causes a lot of stress and problems with my family a lot too, and it causes some like breakdowns that I have where it's like, okay, like my sister plays basketball, and so for a very long time, everything in my family's life has revolved, and you would understand this, I mean, you had kids that play sports, everything revolves around. During that season, it's all about, oh, well, we can't do this day, Madison's basketball game. Oh, we can't go on vacation, basketball game. Oh, you can't have your birthday party, basketball game. Oh, friend can't come stay tonight because we're going to be out of town because we have a basketball game. Etc. Everything is based around this basketball game. And it has been like that for many, many, many years. And she just played her last game. And it's like over. But I just like freaking like lost it. Like I was like so angry for some reason, and it all kind of came like I was so angry about something where like I was supposed to record a podcast with my dad, but then he goes, "Oh hey, wait, I'm going to that's Madison's basketball game day. I'm going to that," and I was already being left at home alone with Madison's dog because she had a basketball game. And now I'm like, okay, and they were going to be home till like 9 o'clock at night. So from like 4 o'clock to 9 o'clock, I'm alone with the dog who's crazy. So I got to feed him, I got to walk, I got to do all this stuff. It's not my dog. I love my dog very, very much. But I never asked for the dog. It's my sister's dog. She asked for the dog. But here I am doing this. And now I don't get to record a podcast because Madison's throwing balls around, you know? Mm-hmm. And it really, and I totally get it. Like, when I calm down, yeah, he's going to go to his daughter's basketball game. He'd be an asshole if he didn't go to his daughter's basketball game. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But still, it just, like, bothered me so much. And then I realized that I was talking to people about it, and just, like, it's been that sort of way for years where I just don't ask. And my parents always comment on it. I was like, oh, David never asked for anything. So we went ahead and we bought him we got him a PlayStation 4 as a surprise because he never asked for anything. And, you know, Madison always asked for, and I'm not trying to pick on Madison. I like my sister.
It's just how
it is, yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's something they comment on a lot. And I just never been a person to ask for things like that. And I guess I've just been that way my entire life, where maybe it's because I had a sister who did ask for a lot, and she played sports, and a lot of things revolved around her, and I didn't do that. And so I always just sort of like, you know, I freaked out and like was like with talking to my mom about it, and I said that it feels like I'm just getting punched in the face a lot. I'm just standing there taking it because I don't want to tell them to stop because I don't want to annoy them. Like, that's sort of how I feel a lot of times, where I just like, that's a great analogy for how I feel, and it's because I'm worried about annoying anybody, even though I'm the one getting punched in the face. I think that's maybe why I was in a crappy relationship for a long time. I know that we're going on time again.
I'm just making sure we're trying to find
we're unlocking things.
That's helpful.
I was in a crappy relationship for a long time. You know, I just get punched in the face, but then I don't say anything because, and I've discovered a lot of people have this problem, where they like they just constantly apologize when there's no reason to apologize. Mm-hmm. And
that's right.
And things like that, and just because they're worried about making anybody else feel the way you feel. Mm-hmm. That's what it is, I think. I don't want anyone to feel the way I feel.
So, do you want to feel the way you feel?
No.
Okay.
But for some reason, and maybe it's just the kind of person I am, I'm more concerned about other people feeling the way I feel. Okay,
so how do you feel when you're around those people that apologize constantly and don't seem to care how they feel about themselves?
Well, that bothers me because I want to, you know, I always tell them, like, nah, man, like, we're at D&D, and my friend Brandon there, he always gets, there's enough chairs for everybody except for one, so he gets a crappy chair, he gets like a little desk chair, and every freaking day, he always gets it. I'm like, do you want to sit in this chair, dude? And he goes, no, it's fine, no, I'm good. I'm like, I know you're uncomfortable, man, I can see you're uncomfortable, do you want to sit in this chair? And he's like, no, I'm fine, and it bothers me because I just want him to be comfortable, or
at least take turns.
At least take turns and sit in the chair. But he's like me, and Brandon's a really great guy, and he's like me, and he's the same way, where he doesn't want to disrupt anything, so he's not going to say anything. Brandon's the kind of guy who will get hit by a truck and then not say anything because he doesn't want to bother the EMTs who would come help him, or
apologize to the person driving the truck for being in the way.
So exactly. And for one, that's just because he's a really good guy, but also it's because but it's still a problem. Obviously, that's not correct, and I guess I'm the same way. And it's for some reason I just worry about that, and I worry about other people feeling that way more than I do myself sometimes. Mm-hmm. And it's because maybe the few times that I have been like that, I just feel awful afterwards, even though, and maybe sometimes people have made me feel bad. Most of the time, people probably didn't make me feel bad about it, but I just did. Yeah.
I think that could easily be something that goes all the way back to childhood. There are so many things like that. I think
it definitely is.
I think I've told you before, there are all these things you can do to, like, regress back and try to find that one memory, like that one time somebody said and it just stuck. And I've tried, actually, to do that, and I've never specifically pinpointed a memory that I can recall. But I think doing those types of things have helped me release those types of beliefs, even though I can't say, oh, I remember the time, da-da-da. But I feel like I've done so much work internally, and so I'll end with this because I feel like we do need to get to the end. But, you know, I'm a huge Star Trek fanatic, and one of the things on the episodes recently was Tuvok on Voyager helping a really troubled crewmate meditate, and he said, close your eyes and let your mind let go of the past and let go of the future and just focus on the white light that is your breath. And I thought, wow, that is so exactly what I try to do. I haven't ever worded it that way, but our mind is always running through what happened to us in the past and worrying about what's going to happen in the future. But our life is right now. It is the white light that is our breath. It is right now. So the more I have focused my entire philosophy of how I live my life on this is what's happening right now, the less I worry, the less I'm stressed, the happier I am. And I just really feel like, be here now, your life is this second. That is where it's at, and that certainly has helped me. Again, I think we just jumped off 5 different topics for our next positive conversations, because so much of what we talked about, I'm sure, could be explored in a more deep manner.
I agree. This has unlocked some things.
For you, time for you to go meditate about it. I love it.
Yeah, so you're right. We do need to wrap up because we could keep going for hours, I think. But thank you guys. Yeah, me too. Thank you guys so much for listening. We hope that you got something out of this. And if you did, please leave a like and subscribe and a comment telling us your thoughts.
Yeah, and tell us what you worry about and things that you'd like to learn to overcome. And we'd love to talk about
and some tips.
Yes.
Yeah, or any questions. Check out our Twitter at stay_creativeDD and send us a message, send us a tweet there, talking about it and maybe some questions for our next positive conversations or even a creative conversations.
That's right.
Thank you guys so much for listening to Positive Conversations of David and Donna. This has been David
and Donna.
Stay positive.